The legend lives on. James Rohn. Over 3 million people have heard Jim Rohn speak, and many, many, many have been changed with the words and the pictures that he portrays. We've had breakfast with Jim with Swap here this morning, and also in Melbourne. We had over 300 people at a breakfast in Melbourne, and one after the other they all got up and spoke how Jim had changed their lives with the words and the wisdom that he has. We had a breakfast yesterday on the Gold Coast, and the man that thanked him, Peter Webster from Direct Car Sales Coast, said that this is the 5th time that he had heard Jim speak. And he said something, and I'll never forget it. I'm going to use it in the introduction here today. He said, in real estate, they say position, position, position. In retail, they say service, service, service. In public speaking, they say Jim Rohn, Jim Rohn, Jim Rohn. Would you please help me welcome Mr. Jim Rohn?
A pleasure for me to be here today and have this chance to see all of you. How many of you have never seen me before? This is your first time? Wow, most of you. Okay. I keep thinking I'm more famous than that, but that is the truth. But I'm delighted to be here. I first came to Australia 14 years ago, and I've been coming back every year, sometimes twice a year. This year, 3 times I come to Australia. So this is my second home, so I'm at home. And I come here more than any other country, that of America, where I live. So I'm in love with Australia. I could live here easy. So it's just a pleasure for me to come back and to have a chance to visit with all of you. Just very briefly, I grew up in Idaho, farm country, little small village in the southwest corner of a very small state in America. High school, graduated, went to college 1 year. Halfway through my second year, I quit, thinking I was smart enough. Big mistake on my part. Should have stayed in school. But I got a job, went to work, started my family, and I'm living a fairly normal, average American life. About age 25. I'm behind on my bills. I've been working now 6 years. I've purchased and I can conveniently pay for on time, and I'm embarrassed by that. Creditors are calling saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail. And I'm behind on my big mouth promises to my feet, and I'm wondering what to do to make my life better. I was willing to work hard. That was not my problem. But life just seemingly wasn't, producing the results I wanted at that time in my life. Wondering what to do, and I thought maybe I should go back to school, but with a family, that's a tough decision. I thought, well, if I had a business of my own, that would do it. But, my finances didn't allow. I got pennies in my pocket and everything. Too much month at the end of the money, if you've ever been there. But in this sort of very frustrating period of my wondering what to do, good fortune came my way. I had a chance to meet a very wealthy man. His name was Mr. Schoaf, Mr. Earl Schoaf. A friend of mine had gone to work for him. And he started telling me about this man. He said, meet this man. He's wealthy, but he's easy to talk to. He's got a unique philosophy of life. And he kept going on, and I thought, I've got to meet this man. So I had a chance a little while after that to meet this man, Mr. Schoaf. I was impressed. He was wealthy. But he was easy to talk to. I was so impressed that within a few minutes I said to myself, I'd give anything if I was like him. What would it take? And then I thought to myself, if I could get around somebody like him, and if he would teach me, I would do anything. And that was my good fortune. A few months later, this wealthy man hired me, and I went to work for him, and I spent the next 5 years in his employ. And then, unfortunately, at the end of that 5 years, he died at age 49. But I got to spend 5 years with this remarkable man, and my dream came true. He taught me. He coached me. He taught me the books to read. He taught me the skills and the disciplines. He did changes to make in my language and personality. And the things he shared with me during that 5 years changed my whole life, changed my bank account, changed my income, changed my future. Remarkable. By the time I was 31 years old, I was a man. So, how lucky can you get, right, to meet the right person at the right time, who's willing to take the time and the energy to pass along life experiences and put it in understandable so that you can use it like I did. Pretty good fortune for me. Then 30 plus years ago, I was living in Beverly Hills, California. And one day a businessman friend, I'd like to have you come tell your story to our service club, the Rotary Club. He said, I know your story. Idaho farm boy makes it to Beverly Hills. But he said, I think my business colleagues would like to hear your story. Arranged one of our breakfast meetings. Would you come tell your story? And I said, sure. So I went and told my story. And guess what? They liked it. And my telephone rang. And I got another call. Would you tell that same story? And my telephone rang again. Said, we've heard about the story you've told and the ideas you've shared. Would you come talk to our club? The first thing I know, I'm devoting a piece of my business time to giving these breakfast and luncheon talks. And then one day, a businessman who'd heard my talk about 3 times said, would you come talk to my management and salespeople? He said, if you would, I'd be happy to pay you. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be something? To share my experiences and get paid? So I agreed to do it. And went and shared my story with his management and salespeople, and I got paid. Little did I know, another fortune for me to translate my ideas and my experiences into seminars and speeches and lectures. And now it's taken me around the world and brought me back to Brisbane. And I'm away by what can happen to a farm boy from Idaho with a few ideas, just simply put, but thoroughly executed, and how dramatically your life can change. That's how I got here, and I thought I would just, brief you a little bit about my story. It's probably more interesting for me than it is for you, but I wanted to hear it again, so I thought I would just, bore you with it. I'm the one that's delighted and impressed about being here today. I don't ask you to be impressed, I'm impressed. From where I started, raised in obscurity, I was broke at age 25. Creditors were calling, saying, you told us the check was in the mail. And then the next 6 years of my life, after meeting a teacher who was willing to share with me, my life dramatically changed. So what I'd like to share with you today is what made the difference in the first 6 years of economic life, between ages 19 and 25. I worked hard, but I wound up broke. I worked hard, but I wound up discouraged. I worked hard, but I wound up what I considered behind after 6 years, right? Pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, behind, way behind on my promises. And then the second 6 years of my economic life, I became a millionaire. Now, how do you do that? First 6 differ so drastically from the second 6 years. And what I'd like to do with you, if you're ready to take some notes and ready to go to work, I'd like to share with you what made the difference for me. First 6 years of my economic life, 1995, and what made the dramatic difference in my life between ages 25 and 31. And if you've got some patience to stay here, I know it's getting a bit late, but if you've got some extra patience, take some notes, let me share with you what I think made the difference. Let me give you a formula, first of all, that Mr. Shove shared with me, helped turn my life around. Here's what he said. There's usually about a half dozen things. Just make that. Half dozen things makes 80% of the difference. Guess I better stay out here. He said about a half dozen things, of the difference. Now, it's not exactly a half dozen, it's not exactly 80%, but you get my concept. Keep looking for the few things that makes the most difference. And then here's the key part. Then spend most of your time working on those half dozen things that's going to make the most difference in your health, your bank account, your future, how you run the office, sales career, management, school career. Doesn't matter. Keep looking for the few things that's going to matter the most, and then spend the biggest amount of time concentrating on those few things. Here's what we call those few things. Basics. Fundamentals. And remember, there's no new fundamentals. In operating your life successfully, there's just a few fundamentals to learn and study. Those fundamentals have been around for the last 6,500 years, recorded history. And once you know them, you know them. And here's what else is exciting. There's no new ones, so you don't have to learn any new fundamentals. Fundamentals are old, right? Be a little suspicious of somebody who says, I've come along with truth. Say, no, truth is old. You might have just made the discovery. There might be some new ways to say it, new ways to apply it to your business career, social career, personal career. But see, truth is old, fundamental, right? Somebody says, I got a new fundamental. Say, no, that doesn't even make sense. Wouldn't you be a little suspicious of somebody who said, we're manufacturing antiques, you've got to come and see our plant and watch us turn out? You'd say, no, that's silly, you can't manufacture antiques. Antiques are what? Old. But let's go through some of the basic fundamentals that makes life work well, makes life worthwhile. Life experience on the spinning planet. What makes it work well? And if your life doesn't work well, if economics don't work well, if your health doesn't work well, if how you feel about yourself is not working, what do you fix? I've got 5 pieces for you to consider. Let me give you that list of 5, okay? Here they are. I call them the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. 5 things to make life work well. Right? Make your income work well. Get the promotions. Make your life work well and all of the equities that you want. 5 major pieces. And if something isn't working well in your life, I'm telling you, if you'll take a close look at these 5 major pieces, you might find the answer to how you can fix it, so that the second 6 years, and if you took a look at your last 6 years, I don't know what you'd come up with. And then if you was to say, hey, I don't want the next 6 years of my life to be like the last 6. I'd like to double, multiply by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10 my results, the next 6 versus the last 6. If that's really what you want, I want you now to seriously consider these half dozen or 5 major pieces I've got to the life puzzle. Here's the first one: philosophy. Philosophy. Philosophy is what makes us different than dogs and animals and birds and crocodiles and spiders and amoebas. Philosophy. The ability to use our mind, the ability to think, the ability to ponder, the ability to read and study and gather up ideas and information, change the course of our life, change our income, change our future, change our bank account, change anything. The reason why extraordinary ability to change our lives in any manner we wish is because we have the ability to come up with a philosophy that comes out of our thinking, comes out of our mind, comes out of this marvelous thing we've got called the thought process. And that's what most changes our life.